and start with some announcements.
Good morning, Wyland Dolphins. It is great to have everyone together to say the pledge and our Wyland pledge, and to have an amazing assembly this morning that you're going to hear more about. Our announcements are that tonight is Papa John's Pizza Night, so anyone who wants to visit Papa John's, that helps our school. And today is the Great American Shakeout Earthquake Drill at 10:30. So at that time, all of our classrooms in our whole school district will be participating in an earthquake drill. And if anyone has brought candy for the Halloween bash, it needs to go to the office, and we'll look forward to seeing a lot of you tomorrow night at the Halloween bash.
Welcome to our Abilities Awareness Assembly. Today, you will hear about some ways that we are special and unique. We want to thank Mrs. Giannassi for being a leader with our Abilities Awareness Week. She is going to talk to us about speech impairment.
Well, good morning. Again, I'm Mrs. Giannassi, and today we begin celebrating Abilities Awareness Week. And first, let's talk about what is a disability. Why are we doing this? Well, disability, I'll answer, then we'll talk later. Disability is a condition that may limit someone in movement, so they may need to use a wheelchair to get around, or they may need a walker, or maybe they need a cane. My cane is somewhere over there. Or maybe their senses may not be working as well. Some people would say are hearing impaired. They can't hear, they may need a hearing aid. Some people, their vision, they may have a vision impairment, or they may be blind. So some people, they may read what's called Braille, or they may even have like a guide dog to help them get around. Some people have some type of learning disability, or they have a difficult time learning to read, or learning to do their numbers. Some people have speech impairments where they have a hard time saying their letters, their words. But what's so interesting and fascinating is that we can take that disability, take the DIS away and turn it into abilities. What can people do with these disabilities? So they can be independent and do everything that every other person does. We see people now with all different abilities. We see people at the parks, at the zoo, at the stores, all over the place, and most importantly, we see all children at school. All children with all unique and special abilities. And we embrace how we're all so different, but also how we're so much alike. We're good friends to each other, we respect one another, and we learn from one another. So that's why we're here. We're here to learn about that. And I want you to notice when you go out today, in the hallway I have wonderful posters of people with all types of abilities. And if you notice, they're all smiling. Everybody's smiling. Having a disability doesn't make you sad. It means I'm going to learn how to do something. I'm going to get help from other people so I can learn to be independent and be a part of this world. When I see a wheelchair, I smile. Because of the invention of a wheelchair, people who cannot walk can get a wheelchair and they can go out, go to school, go to the zoo, go to the parks, go to the stores, go wherever he or she wants to go. And that's awesome. So if you see someone in a wheelchair, be happy we have this invention. So that then when people want to stay home, they can get out. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit. Oh, here's my cane. People need this cane to walk. When I was a little girl, I had a speech impairment, which means, with the common children, I had a lisp and I talked like this. Through thee fell seashells by the seashore. I didn't know what to do with my tongue. My tongue came out when I said my S's. I didn't know how to move my mouth. I didn't know how to close it. And because I talked sort of funny, people sort of laughed at me. Should people laugh at me for talking funny? No. And what happened was, I didn't want to talk. I would be embarrassed. I was very shy. Because I was like, through the sunshine, so I didn't know what to do. That's how I talked. But something amazing happened. I started school. And at my school, my elementary school, was pretty close to here in University City, called Greensfelter, right off of Woodson Road. And I had the most awesome speech therapist. You know, we have two awesome speech therapists here, Miss Tilly and Miss Darty. I think they're here today. And I had a speech therapist named Miss Gladney's. And she would take me out of class, and we would sit together, and she had a mirror so I could see my mouth and how to move my mouth, how to close it, how to close my teeth, so my tongue wouldn't stick out when I said Susie or fell. And I had to practice during speech therapy at school, but guess what? I had to practice at home. And I would get my dictionary out, and I'd look at all the S words. I'd say all the S words. Sorry, instead of sorry, sorry. Instead of start, start. I had to really work with where to put my mouth, how to put my teeth together, where to put my tongue when I spoke. So I practiced, and it took a few years, but all of a sudden, I knew that my teeth should be closed, my tongue should be flat, and I knew how to do my S's. And now, because of that, I decided I'm going to become an occupational therapist. I want to help other people who may have some challenges so that they can become independent and learn to help themselves. But I'm so proud of Wyland. I'm so proud to be at Wyland School because I know we all have so many different types of people here. And we all are friends. There's never bullying going on. We don't want to bully people that are different. We want to be kind to our friends. Don't we? Yes. So we're more alike than we're different. Right. And we embrace each other. So I thank you for being here today. And next week we have a lot of fun activities going on too in different classes so that you'll learn more about abilities awareness. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Giannossi. Next, my mom, Kim Woods, and I care going to talk about visual abilities.
We'd like to let you know that there are a lot of people who have a lot of different types of physical disabilities. However, that doesn't mean we can't do things that everybody else can do. We just might have to find a different way of doing them, and that's okay. My mom always taught me three very important things as I was growing up. First off, to not let my disability get in my way at all over anything. She also encouraged me to have a positive attitude no matter what I was going through. And above all, she taught me to be independent. And those are three very important life lessons that I'm teaching Destiny as she grows up. Now, some of you may have noticed that sometimes Destiny has to do things a little bit differently. Right? And of course, I use a wheelchair and sometimes a walker to get around. We have the same two types of physical disabilities, course, there's some problems with the bones in our ankles and our feet, and that we've had to overcome some surgeries to make those better. Right?
Right.
And then we also have something called muscular dystrophy. Just by a show of hands, who knows what your nerves and muscles are? Anybody know what your nerves and muscles are? They help you move and help you feel.
You know what your head bone is?
Nerves basically are the things in our bodies that help our muscles move. And we have some damage to some of our nerves that cause our muscles to get a little bit weaker. And just like the surgeries we've had to fix the bones in our ankles and feet, we've gone through physical therapy, we both have, to help our muscles. It's your turn.
When I was 1 year old, my doctor, when I was 1 year old, my doctor put casts on one of my legs. He wanted to make my bones grow in the right direction. I had to have that cast changed in 3 times that summer. I had to have surgery. I have casts on both of my legs for a long time. After the casts, I had to start wearing braces. I had to wear them all day and even had to wear them some braces at night while I was sleeping this one off these sets. And I wanted to show you guys these are my braces that we have. I had to wear these at night when I was sleeping. Here's a little baby heel. And then those come off. About 2 years later, the doctor said I could stop wearing them at night. When I was 4 years old, I had to have another surgery. I had to be cast on that summer. When I got of the casts, I had to very hard learn how to walk over again. When school started up again, I could not. I could not walk again. I had to go back to school, identify differently from any one of the other kids. I was in a wheelchair. I had braces on my legs, but I could not even wear shoes yet. Later that year, I started walking with my walker by end of the school year. I was walking on my own. I was able to walk across the stage all by myself. Preschool graduation, I worked very hard. That's one. That year, my doctor says I am done with my surgeries on my leg and feet.
Good job.
I've also had to have many surgeries when I was a kid, and even a few more as an adult. But no matter what the doctors have had to do with either Destiny or I, we're still able to have a normal life, just like everyone else. She's still able to go to school. She just has to do some things different. You may see her use her walker if she gets tired. She sometimes has a different PE teacher come in to help her during PE class. When she goes outside for recess, she has a different way of getting down the stairs. And all of that's okay. No matter how she does it, she's still able to do the same things all of you do. She has worked very hard to get where she is today, and no matter what, she always has a positive attitude and she's never given up. Now, I'm still able to go to work every day, just like any other adult. Some of you may have even seen me working at Target. I'm able to do all of the different parts of that job, I just have to use my wheelchair to do it. Besides working at Target, I'm also able to be a mommy to Destiny. I just have to do that a little bit different sometimes too. No matter what type of physical disability anybody may have, though, we all want the same things. We just want to be treated just like anybody else. We just want to feel like everybody else. We don't want to be left out, and we'll always find a way to do things no matter what it takes. So if you see anybody doing anything different, it's okay.
Yeah, very nervous. There's Grandma and Dad. Dad's a strong man too. So you're a strong man too.
Our next speaker
Yeah, you're okay.
Mr. Ray. He will talk about learning disability.
Good morning, everybody. I just want to talk to you guys today about learning disabilities. So what is a disability? We kind of covered that topic a little bit earlier. But basically, it's just us being unique. These are some of the most common kinds of disabilities. There's 5 of them. And I happen to have one of them myself. I was diagnosed at a young age with dyslexia. So what that means is I had a hard time reading, I had a hard time writing, especially at a young age. I'm probably one of the worst spellers, even to this day. But ultimately, there was different kind of techniques that I was taught in order to get through that. And one of the things is that I confuse the letter B and D very often because I'm such a visual artist. Kind of, I see shapes more than I do letters. And if you look at the bottom of the slide right here, those are all different B's and D's. So that's kind of how I see letters sometimes. I just see them more like shapes than I do actual words. But one of the tricks that they taught me when I was younger is that since I got my B's and D's mixed up, I would hold my fingers up like this, or this, and I would think of the word bed, B-E-D. So E's in the middle, so the B's always on the left hand, and the D is always on the right hand. And that was one of the very helpful kind of trick, especially when I was learning to read. So how common are learning disabilities? Well, they're extremely common. Does that make you any less of a young learner? Certainly not. Basically, that just means you learn differently, and that's kind of how I got through school. I did a lot of audiobooks. I wasn't very. So yeah, that's kind of how I got through school. I did a lot of audiobooks. Another thing is, here's a slide of a few different famous people who are learning disabled. We've got Albert Einstein, Muhammad Ali, John Lennon, Magic Johnson, Harry Potter, Whoopi Goldberg, Selma Hayek. So those are just a few of the famous people who have a learning disability.
Thank you, Mr. Ridgway. Our next speaker will be Dr. Stryker. He will be talking about attention deficit disorder.
Thank you, Cody. If you haven't guessed, I have ADHD because I'm up here in front of you along with a lot of other people who have all sorts of abilities or disabilities that we live with every day. Like Mr. Ridgway's disability, mine is something that you can't always see. And so when you look at some people, you may not know the challenges that they face every day to learn and to participate in class or to sit in a movie and all those sorts of things. So some things you can see and some things you can't. And I have one of those challenges that you can't always see. I have attention deficit disorder. Actually, I have the hyperactivity part too. And ADHD affects teenagers and children and even adults. And it's most commonly diagnosed, however, in children. And usually young children, so kids that are about 3 to 6 years old can be diagnosed with ADHD. And this disorder is something that can affect us in school and at home in a variety of ways. Who can be diagnosed with ADHD? As I said, it's just kids that are about our age here at school. That's when we first start to see that. But right now there are about 6.4 million kids who are living with ADHD. And so that's a lot of kids. And that's a lot of kids that probably have ADHD. You may not know exactly who they are, but after we talk a little bit, you might be able to say, maybe this friend of mine has ADHD, because we'll talk about what some of those symptoms are. The symptoms can look very different for people. Not everybody has all of the symptoms. Some people have a few of them. Some of them have things that aren't listed up here. But one of the symptoms of ADHD is that we're easily distracted. And so when you think about people who can't seem to focus, and they might be looking out the window, or they could be in the middle of reading something and just suddenly stop and look around, that's because they're easily distracted. People with ADHD sometimes have a really, really hard time finishing a task. In other words, like if you have a homework assignment, it could be really tough to finish that homework assignment because you find it really hard to focus, you find it really hard to stay on that task, and you're very easily distracted. It's really hard to pay attention too. Like, it's hard in class when the teacher is talking, or it might be hard for some of you in this assembly right now to really pay attention, because there are some of us in this room who you may or may not know who have ADHD. And so it can be a challenge for us to pay attention in these sorts of situations. They sometimes have a hard time staying seated. Or if you're like me, I can stay seated most of the time, but when I'm seated, my leg is often moving. I sometimes tap my finger, and I've learned not to tap things that make a lot of noise because it's very distracting to other people. But if you sit with me for a long period of time, you're going to see my leg bouncing, my finger tapping, or I'm fidgeting with something, because that, I have a lot of energy that I have to kind of channel and to get out. A lot of people with ADHD have a hard time taking turns and waiting for their turn. And so when we think about some of our friends here at school who are really anxious to get their turn in and don't want to have to wait, and they might become a little agitated because they want to get their turn, they may have ADHD, we don't know. So it could be seen as that. And then there are some people who have ADHD who tend to talk a lot. And so that can be difficult when you're supposed to be quiet, or when you're supposed to be paying attention, and you really have this urge to talk and you can't seem to control that urge, so you end up talking. One of the big questions that people often have is, well, can these sorts of things be fixed? Can you be cured of ADHD? Unfortunately, you can't be cured of ADHD. There are ways for people like me who have ADHD to deal with it, and some people take medication, some people don't. I don't take medication for my ADHD. I used to, but I decided that, after years of taking it, I thought, I don't really want to take that. So I have to work really, really hard to control all of those behaviors that I was describing. And so what I do when I'm in a meeting and the meeting is going long and I'm really starting to get antsy and I'm fidgeting and my leg is bouncing and I can't pay attention, I have to get up and stand in the back of the room, because I have to get up and move, because I'm not medicated. And so when we think about kids in our classes, our friends, and the people that we see around us, and they are standing up at their desk, or they're always moving in their seat, they may have ADHD. You don't know because you can't see it. But we have to try to help understand what this is and be aware that there are people who live with ADHD, and that sometimes they can't control what they're doing, or they haven't learned yet to control. And that's important. They have not learned yet to control some of those impulses and some of those behaviors. Here are some famous people who live with ADHD. Paris Hilton, Justin Timberlake, two of your favorites, Tigger and Dory. So I know that when you think about who we're seeing on the screen, you can say, oh yeah, Dory's really busy. She's talking all the time, and she goes from idea to idea. And so, like some of the characters or the people that you see on the screen right now, I live with ADHD. And like you, I went through elementary school, I went through middle school, I went through high school and college, and all of that time as a kid, I was never medicated. So when I was growing up, I had to learn how to deal with it and to cope with it without medication. And so I had a hard time reading books. Until I was pretty old, I had a really, really hard time, and even to this day actually, I have a really hard time focusing on the words on the page and to finish a book. And I went through lots and lots of school and lots of classes, And one of the things I had to learn to do was learn a little bit differently than everybody else. So while they were reading things, I was listening. I had to listen very carefully, and I had to talk to a learning partner. And so when I look at the way kids get to learn today, where we get to talk to one another, and we get to interact with things and do things, I would have been a much, much, much better learner if that's the way teachers taught when I was a little kid. So I share this with you only because I want you to know that these sorts of things don't have to limit you. Like Ms. Gianassi said, these things, they're things to celebrate. When we look at the people in our classrooms and our friends, and we're all different, and we have some who may have ADHD and they're always going and fidgeting and you know, talking. That's something that it makes us all different. It makes us all, you know, it gives us new experiences with one another. And I just want you to appreciate all the different kinds of people that you encounter every day in your own classroom or in your family or in your community, and celebrate those differences. And like Ms. Gianassi said, when we see, you know, the differences, we shouldn't just see differences. We also have to see how much we all are alike. I wanted to be a teacher, and so I had to find a way to do that. And like Destiny's mom said, don't let your differences limit you. We can do whatever we want if we put our minds to it. In some cases, we just have to remember the word yet. We can't do that yet. We haven't learned that yet. I haven't found a way to cope with that yet. But if you keep working at it, you can do that. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Stryker.
Okay, I'm back. This is Gianassi. I know you all have been sitting here a long time. So we're going to do a little bit of a movement break. Okay, so you I know it's hard. Let's listen. I'm going to show you what we're going to do, because when you've been sitting a long time, I know it's hard to listen. And we just have a few more really special things we want to show you. The first thing I'm going to have everyone do is called cross crawls. And what you're going to do, wait till I tell you to do this. We're going to stand up, but wait. And I'm going to have my left hand touch my right knee, and then my right hand touch my left knee. And I'm going to go back and forth like this. And that's called cross crawls. And what that does, that gets the left and right brain talking to each other again. You have the left side of the brain, the right side, we need them talking and communicating. So cross crawls, we're crossing that midline of the body. And so we're going to do 20 of those. So everyone stand up. I'll tell you when to begin. Are we ready? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Oh, you all did great! Awesome! Yes. So now, we still have a few more minutes of our assembly, so sit down. I'm going to do one more thing with you before we start out again. Okay, so everyone sit back down. And I want everyone to listen to what we have. So we're going to do, some of you know this, we're going to do listening ears. And listening ears are where you're going to take your thumb and your pointer, and you're going to go to the top of your ear, and you're going to squeeze down the lobe. Down to the bottom of the lobe. So that gets your ears and your brain ready to now, let's do 10 of those. We're going to do 10 squeezes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're ready to listen. Thank you.
Thank you for that brainwave. The next speaker will be John Meyer, and it's my pleasure to introduce you to him today. And he will be speaking about visual impairments. Why don't you come on up here, John?
Hello, Wyland Elementary. My name is John, and I am in 5th grade. I have a disability called ocular nystagmus albinism. That is very hard to pronounce. Long story short, I have bad eyesight, but I do have several machines to help me with my vision. I have a magnifier. It is a small handheld tool which acts like a, well, magnifier. It is simple to use. I move it around to see what I want to read. This is the Optron. It is a much larger machine. It has a monitor which clips onto my desk. The machine itself has a control panel which has several buttons, including zoom in, zoom out, brightness settings, color to black and white to yellow, and autofocus. Another button makes the screen darker, which helps some people. I don't use this button. The zoom button is the most helpful to me because it makes things bigger. At home, I use a lighted magnifier and a tool that looks like a mini telescope. This works similar to binoculars. A few fun facts about me are I am a gamer, a Star Wars fan. To see the TV, I sit very close, but I don't need any tools. In conclusion, I may have an eyesight disability, but I can still do all the things I want to do. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John. Now my class is going to be singing a song.
Thank you so much to our students who just performed, and to Ms. Nyhoff and so many of our teachers. And you may have noticed they were doing sign language, which is something that some of you will learn more about next week. We will have some guest speakers coming in to talk to some of our grade levels. But I want to thank everybody who participated today. because we had amazing examples of leaders and learners. So this year our theme at Wyland is working together as leaders and learners, and that's what you saw today. You saw Mrs. Woods, and you saw Destiny and John, and you saw Mr. Ridgway and Dr. Stryker and Mrs. Gianassi being leaders. And then we had all of you in here being learners, because the more we learn about each other, the more we can appreciate and celebrate and care about each other. And in the Wyland way, when we talk about respect, that's what we mean, using kind words, being curious about each other in a really positive and respectful way. And so we are so excited to end our assembly today with building a better world. Because when we all work together as leaders and learners, we do build a better world. Before we do our song, we want to thank Mrs. Gianassi, first of all, for all her hard work on our assembly. Give her a round of applause. And our committee was all of the adults that you saw speaking today, so thank you to all of our adults and our students who participated, and to them another round of applause. It takes a lot of courage to come up and stand in front of your friends and the people that you work with, so we appreciate that. And as we sing our song, we're going to go through it once, and then teachers, you can take your students out as we're finishing up the song. We hope everyone has a great day. And thank you to Wyland Dolphin Sing. They're going to be leading our song today. With love.